I have the opportunity to be able to teach, of all things, something kind of simple, construction, over at a local high school in the state of Indiana. It's a great pleasure, on one hand, to work with teenagers, the next generation, but we really haven't done the next generation any service whatsoever. I would say that on one hand, we're teaching them a few things, but as far as the academics are concerned, and we try to teach as well, not only academics, but we try to teach physical ability and sports and that kind of thing. All those things are good things. But when you try to teach someone and no longer teach them wisdom about God, you're striking everything else out, really of any relevance. Because if I don't have a barometer, I can become a very wealthy individual, but very poor in spirit. And therefore, we're not blessed. And we've seen this now for generations, not just in the generation of what we're seeing in today that we're bringing up, but in my generation as well. I was born in 1968. Well, in 1962, there was a very important court decision on the Supreme Court level, on the national federal level, that stripped away prayer. And they probably, I would assume that I would hope anyway, that those in the Supreme Court, I'd never understood completely the things that they were trying to set in motion. I would hope that would be the case, because what we have seen now is really, and this is a strong word, we've seen pretty much an abomination that's happened, in which when you try to take away God out of the public square, and you got to remember that the particular prayer that was cited in Engle versus Vitale is the fact that it was a very doesn't mention Jesus Christ. It didn't even mention really God or which God that was there. It was a very vanilla prayer. But what took place is, by them striking that down, is they were trying to say somehow that we can survive as a nation without God, and without understanding the fact that there are three parts of who we are. We have body, mind, and spirit. That we are made up of very complex, for lack of a better word, creatures. And we're not creatures. We are human beings. We are made in the image of God. We can't survive as a nation that way. Now, here's the thing. Are we willing to have enough guts to be able to see something like that overturned? I don't know. I don't know if our country is there, because we've been conditioned now for decades. Even before I was born, I'm 55 years old. So before I was born, we have seen this systematic change within our culture that has slowly taken that court decision and added on to it. So as a teacher, when I come in, I can no longer even discuss prayer. I can no longer even discuss something that is of deep and personal to someone, of a student. So how does that play out? It plays out in anger. The other day we saw a horrible fight at our school that could have escalated into something more. And I'm not saying that thing's over, and I'm praying that it will be over, between the escalation between students. And so we see then the verbal assaults against teachers. We see all these things that even in the 80s, when I was graduated from high school, I would never dream of those things, of saying that to a teacher. But you see how it's eroded over time, because we no longer love God. And so where does this take place? Where do we go from here? Yeah, we can try to strike down that court decision. I think it would be important for us to strike that down and turn it back again over to the states. But here we saw just recently where Roe v. Wade was turned. Well, guess what? We need to be able to see this turned. But the question then comes into play, are we as a culture willing to go along with the concept that this is bad? This is a bad decision, and we need God in our lives. So I pray that our culture would come along and be able to almost demand this to be changed. So I pray that will happen. I hope you'll pray that we will see once again our Father being returned, God being returned into the public school system. God bless you. Take care.